Tata Consumer, that's gaining in trade, as reports suggest that the Tata Group has made an offer to acquire stake in Bisleri. Mangalam is with us to fill us in with more on that. Mangalam.
Well, these are news reports which have come in, and if that does materialize, it would perhaps be the deal of the year in the FMCG space. The fact that Tata Consumer, or rather the Tata Group, has made an offer to Bisleri for a stake acquisition right now, which they will perhaps eventually increase gradually. And this could happen either via the group or via Tata Consumer itself, which houses the beverages brand of the group itself. So if this does happen, it would be a big positive for Tata Consumer, because you have about a 20,000 crore market which is there in the packaged drinking water space in India, of which 60% is unorganized. So the belief is that there would be a big market share gain coming in from unorganized to organized, and in that Bisleri is the strongest brand that we know. In fact, so much so that you go to a store, you ask for a Bisleri instead of a mineral water. So that's the kind of generic brand that it has become. It has about 32% of the 40% unorganized market that we have in packaged drinking water itself. If that does happen, then like I said, it would also provide a further fillip to Tata Consumer's beverage foray, because packaged drinking water is indeed a high margin business. We have written to the company, while these are just news reports, they've said that they do not comment on market speculation, but important to know that they haven't denied the story, and in the past as well, they have made a fair amount of inorganic acquisitions too.
All right, Mangalam, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details on this. Tata Consumer up around 1.5% as we speak. But with that, let's move on and talk about Nazara Technologies. That stock is also rising in trade after Google is set to conduct a one-year limited pilot program to allow fantasy games to be distributed through the platform. Now, earlier today, we caught up with the management of Nazara Technologies to understand what this could really mean and how they're rating this move. So let's listen into that.
There has been a lot of regulatory unclarity, as well as a lot of unclarity on how these businesses have to be taxed. And I think the more the clarity emerges, the more it is beneficial to companies like ourselves, that want to follow the law of the land to the last letter. Because today what tends to happen is there's a lot of unlevel playing field. You have a lot of unscrupulous players from outside the country taking advantage of this gray area where companies like us cannot aggressively invest because of lack of clarity. So I think any step that moves towards clarity is beneficial. And I think Google experimenting with fantasy games and rummy games on Google Play is a positive step in that direction. The skill-based RMG space does 6% of our revenue in Q1 of FY23. And we acquired OpenPlay last year, which was in that space, and the team is actively working to build this business out for us. I think the Google Play will definitely boost us, because one, your cost of acquisition becomes lower. There's less friction for people to download from Google Play versus outside that environment. And secondly, I think organic discovery increases a lot on Google Play. Google cannot lend clarity to the regulatory, but I think a lot of activity is happening at the government side, which makes us very hopeful that more clarity will come across. Even if you see the GST, right? The GST Council has been looking at taxation on online gaming very actively, and we're also very hopeful the next month or 2 months more clarity will emerge on the GST side as well.